We're Fred and Carol Wilson. We're sitting here at Elk Run Vineyards, which we established in 1980.
We got interested in wine and winemaking in the 70s, I guess.
In the 70s, we ran a nursery program and we grafted and sold the grapevines because they were hard to come by on the East Coast. And so we were the first winery in Maryland to establish the classic European grapes here. And hence it's taken us the past 30 years to learn how to grow them the best way.
We produce Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Pinot Noir, some Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Cabernet Franc, and Syrah.
I think we have covered the gamut. We have a clientele that really enjoys fine wine and have been coming here for a long time. And they may bring their next-door neighbors who don't drink wine, so you need to have sort of an introductory wine available as well for people to learn that wine isn't snobby and wine can be grown here and it can be enjoyed by everybody.
The year begins and ends in early November. The grapes have been harvested and the leaves will fall. And once they fall, then we'll start pruning. And it takes us about 3 to 4 months to finish that pruning, tying, getting the vine ready for the new season. And we have a schedule that says we need to have that done by April the 1st. Then the vines will start budding out later in that month and flowering in May and setting the grapes in June. So we have, during that time period, we have to kind of manicure the vines. We have to ensure that they're growing straight, that there's plenty of room for air drainage, that canes are not laying on top of each other. We'll hedge, that is, cut the sides and the top off, and then we'll start taking the leaves away from the grapes. Again, to allow the sun exposure and to allow air drainage so that the fungus problems that are endemic to these types of grapes are minimized. Then toward the end of August, we will pick our first grapes, and those will be for our champagne. A couple of weeks after that, Pinot Noir, Gewürztraminer, and then Chardonnay. Toward the 1st of October, the Merlot, Syrah, and then the Cabernet comes in last, as well as the Riesling if it gets that far.
So it keeps us busy the whole time. And then, of course, once the harvest comes in, we start making the wine. And with the white wine, as soon as you pick it, you crush it, press it, and get it into the containers for fermentation. The reds, you pick it and you ferment it on the skins to get the color. And in about 3 weeks after that, then you've got it in the barrels. And then all winter long, we're making wine. So in the wine business, you're working around the season. There's a lot of nuances to wine that are really fun to examine, and novices will say, I don't know anything, but they actually do. They just don't identify that they know it. And so that's the fun part, as well as that it changes with each season. And some wines have a very fruity flavor, particularly Chardonnay in the spring, that kind of goes away after about a month. So if you don't go to a local winery, you'll never taste those flavors, because by the time it comes from California or someplace else, that's already gone. So it's a good time to come out in the fall, taste the grape, come back and taste it out of the barrel during the winter, come and taste it in the spring when it's brand new, and see how the wine changes from season to season. And then challenge yourself to see if you taste that Cabernet grape and you recognize that it's going to end up being the Cabernet wine.
Coming out with a good wine in the end, after going through all the effort, I think is satisfying. Getting the vines through a season in reasonably good health is satisfying. Wine that you have with foods can sometimes be different than wine that you would just sit around and sip. And that's a real fun part of it. If you're into cooking at all, then going through that next step of pairing the wines is pretty exciting.
Particularly in Maryland, which has such a diverse soil and climate from one end of Maryland up into the mountain and hillsides. We're an agricultural state, so you can visit the wineries and you can pick up your apples and you can buy produce from the roadside and you can taste the whole local flavor. And then matching that with the food, with the whatever foods are currently available or produce is currently available with your local wine it's just a great adventure.